who are the Bamileke people? It is a very vast question. I will answer just on 2 or 3 dimensions. The origin, the second dimension is societal organization, and we can end with the beliefs, religious beliefs. So to start, I will say that peoples of the Grassfield of Cameroon are considered, Bamilekes are considered as peoples of the grass fields, like savannas in the Cameroon, in those highlands of Cameroon. Alors, and as we stated lastly, or in the previous discussions, they were linked to Tikas, they were linked to Bamun, also the Igbo people of southern East Nigeria. For some authors, Bamileke means people of faith. They do not refer to themselves as Bamileke. If you go to West Cameroon, you go to Northwest and so on, that area occupied by those Grassfield people, they did not recognize themselves as Bamileke. Bamileke is a generic word designating a very large number of groups of peoples. So if you go to Chang, you will have the Chang people who you can have the photo, you can have the Bafu, you have the Fonsatula, and so on and so on. So there is very fragmented societies with some small chiefdoms, and every chiefdom have its particularity. Okay, the Bamileke languages, as I said, are Grassfield languages that belongs for those who study linguistics to the Southern Bantoid branch. They are considered as semi-Bantu, not Bantu, as those of in the central Cameroon, southern or South Cameroon. Bamilekes are considered as semi-Bantu. According to some Bamileke oral traditions, they are descendants of Mbum princes. We have talked about it. Mbum are now in the Adamawa region, the Cameroon parts. You have Mbum have the kingdoms with the kings named or entitled Belakas, and the main city, the biggest city of Mbum in Adamawa now is Ngangha with its Belaka. Right. So you have the Mbum who gave lead to Tika. After the Tika, you have the Bamun, you have the Bamileke, those peoples of those grasslands. The Mbum who migrated to their current location from northern Cameroon are the ancestors of all Grassfield people and now reside in the Adamawa, as we said. In the 17th century, the Bamileke migrated further south and west under the pressure of the Chamba. The Chamba is a very warrior people in that northern part of Nigeria, in the frontier with Cameroon. And for a renowned researcher, Eldridge Muhammadu, it is the Chamba who push the Bamilekes and the Bamun to go further in that area. We locate them before the colonial period, who fixed them and stop all migrations to different areas. The Fulani, we can talk about Fulanis, but the Fulani came at the beginning of the 18th century. You see, so at that time, Bamileke and Bamun was already settled in the area we found them today. And Fulanis lead some conquest to the southeast, to the south, to the west, and they joined the Bamun kingdom. For example, the king of Banyo helped the fund of Bamun kingdom to resettle his power when attacked by one of his slaves who want to take over power from him. So relations, links are established with those kingdoms, Fulani kingdoms from the Adamawa and those peoples of Grassfields. Links was consolidated with the kola nut trade. You know that in that area of Grassfields, they produce a lot of kola nuts, and it was consumed mostly in the savannah in the northern part of Cameroon. It was the beginning of the trade, a very important trade, trans-border trade, trans peoples or trans kingdoms trade from that Grassfield area to the northern parts. And you have those caravans coming from Kano in Nigeria, coming from Kuka around the Lake Chad, coming from the sides of Mediterranean, big caravans of 200 to 400 horses and donkeys coming to that area, exchanging goods from the Sahel zone with those of the forest zone. And you have that development, very important development of trade inside those societies, within those societies, without intervention of colonizers. When colonizers came, they found that trade, that links very established, very developed, and some items, some important goods exchange from those different areas, from the forest zone to the Sahel zone, and from the Sahel zone to the forest area. And you know, before colonization, the Sahara was a big autoroute, I can say, big routes of trade crossing Sahara from the north to the south, from the south to the east, and so on. You have big caravans around the Lake Chad. Lake Chad, which can be considered as an interior sea. And for the disposal of water, they are going round this Lake Chad and taking directions to the south, to the east, to the north. And so you have exchanges. Colonization come and began the process of extraction. Colonizers come from the sea, from the coastal areas. And if you took the map of Africa today, you will notice that all the biggest cities founded by the colonizers are situated in the coastal areas. So Cameroon experienced this. These trade links developed in the interior was progressively abandoned or taken off to the south, to the coastal area. And now from Douala to the interior, you have the routes. Germans started establishing the railroads from the coastal area of Douala to Konsamba around in that Grassfield area, where they start producing some raw materials for the sake of their interests. So they move migrated to the current situation, to come back to the history of the Grassfields, to say that from the booms to the Tikar, you have the Bamun, you have the Bamileke, with all different branches. There is a map Brother Vincent sent me. I think that he will share this map to see the divisions of different kingdoms and peoples from that area. To so to see some features related to Bamileke culture, tradition, and power. And I know that in the internet you have many pictures. You have a Bamileke king with all his traditional attires. You have those very refined and developed techniques of producing some goods, some items uh, which are used in everyday lives for by the kings, but also by the people. You see that decorations, those pillars, and so on. And if you visit a Bamileke, every Bamileke kingdom, it is a museum itself. It can help you understand. And those figures are not drawn simply or without any signification. You can see, you can learn a lot just by this. I remember when I went to Batu Farm, there is a open museum, living museum in Batu Farm, but at any step, you can write a book. You can write books to understand the philosophy of life, the traditions, the medicine, all what you need to say or to know about these people. You see the feet of the king. They are not placed any. They are not placed in some area or under or on things without signification. You see those that mat made of what I can say leader of a leopard. Yes. So in you have quarries, you have many items, and you can describe to with this picture alone you can learn and learn a lot of things. Next to it, you have those masks, those peoples, secret societies, and you cannot see them every day. Those secret societies are used for some purposes defined by traditions, and in significant situations. You have those drums from trees and so on. The sound produced are research, are not any sound, but they can talk. They can say things to the king, to the people, just by playing those drums. So you have many items. You have those artifacts with a queue of horses. It is you can do some thousands of pages of dissertation explaining why the queue of horse, why those attires and so on. So it is a very rich, very enriching culture, very enriching traditions related to power, because the king in the Bamileke zone, in the Bamileke area, the king is at the center of the whole life, at birth, at marriages, and at death. You cannot bury a person without asking the authorization or the benediction of, of the king. So the king is at the center of the life of the people. He shared land, he organized tradition, he organized prayers, and so on. So to go further, you have that architecture. You see those pillars I talked before. you have this entrance of that house, that palace, in the in the Banjul chiefdom. You can found it. It is where secret societies and the king with his notables can be can be meet to decide. And inside it, you can find that every person knows where to sit, what position to take, what to say, and so on. So very, very interesting and very informing pictures and so on. If you visit those kingdoms, in every picture, every chiefdom, you have differences, you have many things to learn about it. So those two pictures present that ancient architecture of the Bamileke. And in the right side, you have this hotel built in Bafoussam, the capital city of the Grassfields, named Zingana Hotel. And you see that this hotel reflects this architecture, this traditional architecture, just modernized, but giving very, very good to see, and very important to learn, to visit also. To go further, let's talk about the socio-political organization of the Bamileke people. We take general features, but inside you can have some differences, some specifications, which will be very, very interesting to know or to learn. Bamileke settlements follow a well-organized and structured pattern. If you go into a Bamileke village, all the peoples are settled by ranks, by designation, by function, by activities, and so on. So very organized and structured society. People didn't settle as they want and so on. No, it is very well organized under the lead of the king, of the chief, of the fund. Houses or family members are often grouped. And what I noticed in the Bamileke area, every people settle in his fields. In the other sides, when colonizers came, they draw the roots. Every people leave the interior, leave the fields to come to settle alongside the roots. In the Bamileke area, when you arrest only on the roots, you didn't know, you didn't discover, you cannot discover all what is inside, or very long at the interiors. So every family is settled in his fields. So it is difficult for a stranger to come to settle between two families or occupy a field between those different families. And they have what they call a sort of tree, a peace tree, that materialize the boundaries in the Bamileke area. In every field was alongside every field, you have this tree, this peace tree, who materialize the limits of or every parcels or the domain of every family. You have the chief, who is at the center of that organization. The naming change from kingdom to kingdom, chiefdom to chiefdom, but you can call him Fon or Fong. He is considered as the spiritual, the political, the judicial, the military leader. I said all the aspects of life are organized around or under the leadership of a chief. The power of a Bamileke king is often represented by the elephant, the buffalo, the leopard. So those are the animals symbolizing the power, the ingenuity, and so on. So you have some qualities related to those animals. Oral tradition proclaimed that the fawn may transform into either an elephant or leopard whenever he chooses. And behind every Bamileke chiefdom, you have this forest, this sacred forest, which is maintained, entertained, and it is inside this sacred forest that the new king was initiated before coming out to rule his people. So the chief is also considered the father of the chiefdom. He does has great respect. In the Bamileke people, the chief is highly respected by all the people, all the people. I remember a time, I went to Bamenjida. I went out with the king of Bamenjida, His Royalty Tanefo Jean-Marie. We are marching on the route, and we saw some young girls running away with their mother, hiding themselves in the bushes. I asked the king, why? What's happening? Why are they running? So, why are they frightened to see you? He laughed, and after that, he told me that they are afraid of becoming my wives. So, any girl the chief pointed by his finger is uh, is considered as his wife and have to be taken to the king's palace. So young girls till now run away when they see or when they have to meet the chief. So they cannot meet him as they want or anyway or without respect. So in the Bamileke area, respect is a value. Respect the king, respect the parents, respect the ancestors. We will see it after. So the king can be succeed after his death, but the name of the successor, his identity, are kept secret by the ministers, by the notables of the kingdom. You have the council of nine ministers, very, very close to the king. They keep secret the name of the successor until the death, and then they capture the new king, the successor, and immediately they brought him to the sacred forest for 9 weeks, and then after he came out and then presented to the people to rule the chiefdom. And that marked the end of the funeral ceremonies to the late king. The Bamileke trace their ancestry, inheritance, and succession through the male line, and children belong to the fondom of their father. After a man's death, all his possessions typically go to a single male heir. So this is at the kingdom for the king and successors, but this is also in the families. In every Bamileke family, the successor will be designed designated after the death of the chief of the family, and he can be the elder or the junior, and all the other people have to respect him. They have to respect him like the father and the one who will continue to protect the big family. So the practice of polygamy, or like linguists and sociologists say polygyny, so having a lot of wives is practiced, and some important individuals may have literally hundreds of wives. This is in the past times. Nowadays, it was not hundreds, but some a large number, many, thousand, I can say dozens, and so on. Kings have many wives until today, and ordinary people too used to have many wives. Marriages typically involve a bride price. This is also a very important thing to know, and if you assist to those ceremonies to give this bride price, very important, very learning, and very interesting also. The fund typically has 9 ministers and several other advisors and councils. We mentioned so many councils. Certain are secret councils, secret advisors to the king, and all those are helping him to administer, but also to lead his people. The ministers are in charge of the crowing of the new fund. That's so. The Council of Ministers, also known as the Council of Notables, is called Kamve in certain chiefdoms. You have also a queen mother, which could be understood in two ways. A queen mother could be the mother of the king. King mother could be also one of the wives of the king, and she is called a mafo. Was that, and she is an important figure in the kingdoms. She has a major role, and she receive also big respect from the people. Below the phone and his advisors lie several war heads, each responsible for a particular portion of the village. Some Bamileke groups also recognize sub-chiefs or Ponte. So politically or socio-politically, it was a very hierarchical, organized society. So a sort of pyramid in which you have different steps, different scales of organizations and power and sharing of powers. So for a newcomer who didn't know what happening, you cannot understand all those diversities, differences, and circles of power. To go further, in the religious domain, you have the dominant form of worship is still ancestral worship, a kind of veneration of dead people, veneration of skulls. So is that uh, before burial of a people, considering of his rank, his role, his functions in the society, they have to inquire to determine the cause of death. They cannot bury a person without knowing the cause of his death. And in certain groups today, they go to further than the autopsies done by in the hospitals. They go further. They have traditional autopsy, which is done in some corpse, some bodies, if there is suspicion about the death of the person. There are many considerations related to it, spiritual considerations, and some kind of zombies consideration. That is to say, someone could be dead or seen dead, but for those who have 4 eyes or more, they can say that the person was also only taken to the family to go to work for the others in the rest of his life. After this is completed, the family must gather at the home. Each member must step up to the totem. Yes, the Bamileke have the totems. Each family, each kingdom have its totem, which are still be consulted to take some decisions. And to satisfy the ancestors, the person believed to be a murderer must perform a special ritual. So the kind of inquiry using libations, using rituals to know or to determine the cause or the author of the murderer before the burial of a person or the deceased. The Bamileke also believe that the ancestor spirits still remains. So within the actual skulls of the ancestors as well, so they keep possession of them. Any family every family in the Bamileke area has its sacred space where you have the remains, you have the skulls of the ancestors who are kept, and also who are venerated in some ways, and very, very, they look about it, they look for it very closely. The oldest male in the family keeps the skulls of both male and female ancestors in a dwelling that the family built and a diviner has blessed. In the event that a skull is not well preserved, a special ritual must be performed that consists of the pouring out of libation. It can be oil, wine, and so on, or some sacrifices, blood of some chicken or other animals. The Bamileke are known for elaborate elephant masks. You have talked about elephant to symbolize the power of kings. You have secret societies in the Bamileke area who wear elephant masks used in dance ceremonies. Talking about the dances are not just to divert themselves. Dances are very, very organized and stratified. They have functions. Not everyone to dance any dance. You have sacred societies. Some dances are for specific group of person. You have gender, you have history, and so on. So, and according to the ceremony in which the dance will be executed, you can have specific dances for burials. You have dances for rituals. You have for feast, for celebrations, different kind of celebrations. So dances are very specialized in the Bamileke societies, and showing the importance of the event or the person for which those dances are organized. So I think I have talked a lot. We can stop there. Many things to say about very very rich people, rich artistically, politically, spiritually, and economically too. We can talk about that economic dimension, which is a very important mark of Bamileke people. Very, very, a very important actor, trade, economic actors in Cameroon, in Africa, but also around the world. Where you found the Bamilekes, you have some dynamism in that economic domain, and that organization, they are very organized, whether in Cameroon or outside Cameroon. And they are very communitarists, I can say. I don't know if it is English, but they used to be in community. They look to each other, and they share links with others too. But the community is a very strong dimension in the Bamileke society, in the Bamileke family, whether in Cameroon or outside Cameroon. To stop there, I have to thank you so much for listening, and we will dig together to better understand different dimensions of that very interesting people in Cameroon. And I conclude by saying that ancient Ivory Coast president Felix Houphouët-Boigny, he used to say that he used to say to late president of Cameroon, Amadou Ahidjo, he said to him that, give me the Bamileke peoples, and I will make Ivory Coast a paradise, because of knowing how they are very dynamic and doing many things in all those domains we mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. That was a massive presentation. So I'm sure that a lot of people here got a lot of questions about it. So the floor is open now for any questions.
Yeah, I just have a comment to one of the things he was talking about, which I thought was very important, and that was the polygamy aspect. More importantly, so we have a fawn here in Pittsburgh, and his mother was here, and she passed away, and I was able to go to the they did a memorial service before they took her back. But one of the things that really struck me, he was talking to everyone in there, and there were, some of his peers and everything else from work and everything that had no clue about the Bamileke or anything else. But what just stood out to me when he said, it's very sad today for me, and I'm sad twice. He said, because the day I'm burying my mother and I'm burying my wife. And it just like, wow, just understanding that, no sexual things there, but he inherited everything from his father, including his mother. And that just made me begin to understand that when a lot of times they say they have 60, 70 wives, and usually it's not that many, or maybe it is, but many of them, it's not a sexual thing, that they were inherited to him through the father's lineage. So I just thought that was very serious. And the other thing was when he talked about when one of the sons, when the father dies, again, inherits, and it's not always the oldest one. And so a good friend of mine here, when he talks about, he calls his younger brother father, because his younger brother was the one that was um, the person going to become the next king. And so now, even though there's about 10 years between the two, he still gives him that respect. So I just thought that was very interesting and wanted to share that, that it's still happening today because I've, heard it and witnessed it.
Very important contribution. And I know that many of you can add something. I don't think that, is it a question?
No, sir. It was just a comment to
Yes, just a
reinforce,
comment.
yeah, just
Yes,
to reinforce what you said about the inheritance and then how a younger person could become the father of his older brother.
yes.
Professor, I have a question
Yeah,
about kingdoms.
yes.
Can you describe more like the size of the kingdom? How many people would be within a given kingdom? And would the individual kingdoms have support each other, or do they see themselves as being like foreigners to each other?
The size vary a lot. And you know that if you visit that western part of Cameroon, you will see that the distances are very short between different kingdoms. And they talk about kingdom, but you will find a kingdom after 10 square under 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers, sometimes 5 kilometers between two kingdoms. So it is very tight because of, the space is very narrow in that region. The west region, for example, the west region of Cameroon is the smallest region of the country. And when you take that smallest region, the Bamoun region take half of the west region. So the remaining kingdoms are just in that small area. If you go to the northwest, neighboring each other, and and so on. But as you say, many relations are developed between those kingdoms. They have their territory, they have their people, they have their customs, but they share many things with the neighboring chiefdoms or kingdoms in the area. Some of the kings are playing the role of guarantee and so on. After the death of a king, some other neighboring kingdom or neighboring king can come and help to ease the succession process to go to its end. And there are some links between certain kingdoms where you can see a person originated from one kingdom going to settle another kingdom in the history. So there are many links between those kingdoms. And today what we observe is that all those kingdoms are trying to preserve what is their identity, what is fundamental to them, and they use to include the others, the neighboring kingdoms, in their sociocultural life and political and social lives, and in those different aspects of their nowadays life.
Thank you. So I guess as I think about it more, it seems more accurate to think of the Bamileke as a nation, like individual kingdoms, right, with their own traditions, perhaps, but similarities and supporting each other. So not mhm, not as small as a tribe. It's more a nation of individual kingdoms. Would that be more
Yes,
accurate?
yes, yes. You are right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I feel we got Sister Jacqueline. She raised her hand. She got a question.
Yes, I do. Thank
Brother
you. Thank you.
Munkam can add something.
So I have my question is about art. So in terms of the role of arts, I'm an artist, and I want to know the role of arts in Cameroon. And then my part two question is, in terms of language, what do we have a different word used for arts than the Western society? One thing I learned is the Latin word. Well, art has Latin roots. The word art has Latin roots. So, are my questions clear?
Let me help. So yeah, she's answering a very good question. So we say in the Bamileke language, Ngaoundere, which means every time you hear Nga, it means the person who knows. And has to do with vision, because for us, the philosophy of art was to use images to heal, right?
Ooh.
And yeah, so art, because we speak in English, has been always something that's not one size fit all. So this is why in the Bamileke region specifically, you have a specific cast of people, families who are initiated to that. So therefore, the produce of Gamvu they're going to create is a healing element or artifacts or a specific family of or people, right? Now, as far as the language, I just wanted to just add something here when it comes to Bamileke language, right? They somebody talking. Okay, there is no difference. Yeah, I'm gonna say this again. If you speak any Bamileke language, I don't care. There's no difference. Now, if you want to talk about difference, you might name like accent and tonality. A Boston English speaker and a North Carolina English speaker will have a different tonality. And you might think they don't speak the same English, but it's the same language. I am Bana. I speak Fefe. When a Bagante person speaks, I understand very well, and I can speak also Bagante. The problem is when we analyze these languages, you usually come from the fact that most people who would say that don't really. So if you don't master the language, you would think they're really different. But I tell you that it's all about just some very small connotation as far as that are usually directed into the tonality. Another proof that there is no change is that the philosophy between what we said, I don't care, you can take anything, it's the same exact thing. You go to Bafang, you go to Banjul, you go to all these different regions, it will be the same exact thing, right? Now, one question that I have for the professor here, right? So I saw the map of genealogy of the Bamileke who started, coming from. Oh, by the way, guys, I am in Cameroon right now. I got here yesterday. So, but I made sure I'm here today. So, in this meeting. Now, when I see this map or this genealogy that are being shared, I have a small question regarding that, and I'm a little bit skeptical about it. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because, we have a spiritual system that right? You guys really know, and it's very rooted into quote unquote, because I speak in English, worshiping the ancestors to the skull, right? Now, it's not really worship, it's just paying them homage because we know that they were angels. Now, since it's a tradition that myself, from Ghana, can trace it all the way back to the 17th centuries, right? Since I can trace it. Now, I'm asking, can we go back in the banking region, for instance, and find anywhere over there where they were practicing the spiritual system? right? Where they had it in the center of their life, the scope, in the center of that spiritual system, the scope. Because if somebody say that, genealogy speaking, another Bamileke from Bana come from there, it means that if we go there, we look at the artifacts and we look at especially the spiritual system, we should find a lot of similarities in there. So the question is, when we go in the spiritual system, the banking people, I'm not talking about any other religion, like Islam or Christianity, can we find any similarity with what the Bamileke are doing today? Thank you.
If you take only the Bamileke people, those who recognize themselves today as Bamileke, you can have differences from chiefdom to chiefdom, from kingdom to kingdom, but you can have also similarities you can notice. See, if you take the case of the Bamun kingdom, a crown king in Bamun have always made his first visit to Bankim to meet the chief tikar of Bankim before exercising his power and his rule. So you have some practices which remains from the Tika, from the Bamun, and also to the Bamileke people.
So
I maybe want to add something to this point.
Yeah.
A good way also to see the similarities would be to check, if you go on Wikipedia, for example, and you read at the language spoken in those areas, they usually tell you how God is said in those languages. And if you look at all the Tika languages, God is usually said almost the same way all the time. It's either si or su, or so is something similar to si. Because when languages evolve, there are words that don't change as much. So that's a way to compare. Just ask the person, how do you say God in your language? And usually, if you go in Bankim and you see someone from Bankim, you ask that, he will give you a word that's very close to what you will see in other communicate areas.
okay, so I'm going to make sure Lanny gets her to ask her question. I hope I'm saying your name right.
Oh, thank you. It's Lenny.
Lenny, okay.
Yeah, I just have a quick question because I'm about to run out of power here. Where would you recommend a person who's traveling to Cameroon for the first time and who doesn't speak any French? Where would you recommend I go?
It is you have the kingdoms of Norway. You have Bafut. You have the Kumba also, and so that kingdom of Bafo, and it will be very, very learned and very helpful.
Okay.
I would also say check with the princess
Yes.
Mondu, because since she's been there, because it's good to already have something mapped out.
Mm-hmm.
So I would check with her just to get, a little more on some of that.
Okay. All right.
I'll chime in a little bit. If you do not speak French, I would suggest you have a guide.
A guide?
Yes, someone who
Oh,
speaks English or French.
okay.
What I can say is that in Cameroon, we spoke both language, English and French. So you can have guides, you have people who can help you in English, whether you are in the Anglophone or the Francophone area. The matter we face is that in Francophone zone, we didn't practice English in everyday lives. You use it to read, you use it to teach, and so on, or with strangers, but not every day. It is the difficulty I have to express myself with you in that conversation. In
Mhm.
the English area too, you can have people speaking French, but they didn't use it in everyday life. Sometimes it is difficult, but but both areas you can have someone who can understand English who could be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Thank
that was
you.
actually a good question, sister. And what I'm gonna say is that just stay in touch with the group. We're working on bringing people back home, so you won't need a guide or anything. So when we got all that set, we're gonna be able to disclose when we're going back home and who's coming back home, and then you can be part of the group as well because you're already learning from us. So you already know each other. It will be more easy for you to visit home.
Thank you.
You're
I'd
welcome.
appreciate
Uh,
that.
I saw a question about regarding the Bamileke if they have art societies. Yes, yes, very developed art societies in all the kingdoms, and you have different kind of arts. You, you have sacred arts, and you have those who are just producing artifacts for everyday usage.
And I can also add that we got like in Chang, we got like a massive museum over there. I forgot what's the name. I think Brother Boris went there when he was in Cameroon. It's like a museum to showcase the Bamileke, the Grassfield art. And then there's so many things to actually learn and visit, see from there as well.
And by the way, when I went there, I was with African American brothers who speak no French, and it was a good experience because they were traveling with me and they got to enjoy the stay. And regarding the question, I wanted to add also something. In the Bamileke area, people sing a lot, but the way we sing is it's usually group singing. So we sing usually maybe when we are grateful to or something. And we also sing when we are mourning. We have and we also have songs, especially during the events, like the big events. We have songs that are more related to telling a story. And I can still see it even now because my grandma, when she died, we had some family members who were singing, but through that they were telling the story of my grandma. And um, so the way we express art is usually when it comes to singing, because people talk about other forms. There is also a sense of using it to convey a message because we believe that in the Bamileke tradition, the ancestors are still living. So you're just using it as a tool to convey something, and usually something either positive or you are sad and you're saying goodbye.
Thank you. So I've got one question for Professor Ahmadou.
Yes.
When we look at the statistic of African ancestry, we can see that Cameroon, specifically the Grassfield area, are one of the most affected region where you get a lot of people was captured. Was it because the ancestor wasn't equipped enough to kind of like defend themselves, or what, you know?
That is an historical fact. When we do research in relation to slavery, we found that the main area, the most important area from which many people were taken off is the Grassfield area and directed to in direct link to Calabar, which is now in Nigeria, in the Nigerian side of the border. But if we know the people, you know the geography of the region, you see that the routes follow the valley rivers, and you have like the cross river between Cameroon and Nigeria, who goes to Calabar. So it is easy to take people from those kingdoms of Grassfields who hunt for slaves, who trade slaves, and to follow those routes to Calabar, which is a big point where slaves were taken on that coastal area before colonization. And when colonial powers came, they draw a boundary which separated Cameroon and Nigeria, which had not exist before. And then you have that seaport, very big seaport, main important seaport, from which Cameroonian were deported from that area of Grassfields. And then after, you have the Vuri River, so the shores of the Vuri for the Bell, King Bell, and King Aqua in the other side, to the ocean too, After this area, you have to go to the Batanga, and then after you go to the Campo, where near the border with what is known today as Equatorial Guinea. But in front of the Cameroon territory, you have that island of Fernando Po, which is part of Equatorial Guinea today, which has played a role of transit, but where slavers used to stay and take many enslaved people from the coast and brought them there before going to Sao Tome and Principe and to the Americas and so on. What I want to add is that people taken are not just persons. They are also intelligence. They are also technicians in many domains. And what is taken is not only arms, it is also brains, it is also techniques. And all those dimensions were qualities researched by the slavers from area to area, and that permit them to develop the areas of resettlement in the Americas, and also to exploit those new fields, new lands they acquire by exterminating Indians and indigenous people they found there.
Thank you. Thank you. That answered my question. So I think we've been here for over 2 hours now. You're not going to keep people here for longer. We're going to take some question. Anyone who got a question, please go ahead and ask your question, and then we can close the meeting.
I see Prince Michael. I was going to ask if you had anything, but I see you just shared on the chat. So man, this was an awesome professor. Again, thank you for everything that you brought here. I mean, really
thank you, sir. My pleasure.
Yes, enlightening and opened up a lot of things. And thank you, Brother Monte, for chiming in on what you chimed in on. So if no one else has anything, I just appreciate everyone being here. Brother Montcalm, again, I just thank you for having this platform for us to be able to share, to speak, to learn, to listen, if that's all we want to do. All right. So if no one else has anything, just remember that this platform is for everyone to come and share. And let out some frustration sometimes because we don't know who we're talking to. We don't have anyone to talk to. And so sometimes this is our only place to come to be able to share. So just wanted to give that out to everyone again, and look forward to seeing everyone for class 4 on next week at 2 o'clock. And I'm glad it's next week and not the week after, because that's Super Bowl Sunday. And I'm going down here with Brother Jerry so we can watch some football. And God bless everybody, and see you all next week.
So I'm just going to add the last thing. So thank you for everyone who contributed. So I've got 81 CAD Canadian dollars from Sister Glenda, and 46 Canadian dollars Brother Gordon. Thank you very much. So the link is on the Facebook. So anyone want to contribute, please go ahead and do that. Or it's not, you don't have to really. So yeah. Thank you again, and have a
Thank you all.
weekend.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.